Kiminonawa, also known as Your Name, is considered by many people the greatest anime movie ever made. With its beautiful animation, well-crafted music, a story about a love that transcends space and time by the red string of fate, winning various awards for best animation, this movie is pretty much loved by everyone, even among non-anime fans. The most beautiful anime movie ever. The perfect anime. Your Name and how anime changed my life. A love is stronger than anime itself. Why I hate your name. Okay, maybe not everyone. To be honest, I was also part of the bandwagon back in 2016. I went with two of my friends to the movie theater and watched Your Name when it came out. I was amazed by the animation, the music, the attention to detail, two individuals falling in love under impossible odds. I generally thought that this movie was the greatest anime movie ever made. But now that it's been a few years, the hype has died down, and now that I'm older, I've decided one day to revisit Your Name. And I found some things that made me reconsider my opinions about this movie. But before getting into the nitty-gritty of this video, a spoiler warning. There's gonna be some spoilers on this video, so if you haven't watched Your Name, pause this video, go and watch the film, and come back here later. So without further ado, let's get into it. Okay, so to recap the premise of the story, the whole plot is fundamentally a body-swapping star-crossed lover story. We have Mitsuha, a young hard-working girl who lives in the small town of Itomori helping her family's shrine, and she also happens to be the daughter of the local mayor. And moving on, we have Taki, your average high schooler with a part-time job living in Tokyo. Both of them share a supernatural magical connection where they swap bodies, resulting both of them to learn from each other's lives and eventually fall in love. So the film opens up with a montage showing the glorious animation Shinkai Makoto's films are known for, along with our two main characters monologuing setting up this story. From there, we're introduced into the lives of Mitsuha and Taki. We see that Mitsuha is bored to death living in a town where nothing happens, she gets bullied by some of her classmates, and also she has to put up with her uptight father. On the other hand, we get introduced to Taki. Well, actually is Mitsuha and Taki's body, but we get a little glimpse of what Taki's life looks like. Living along with his dad, going to high school and working a part-time job. We don't get officially introduced to Taki until 29 minutes into the movie. Now, this is the part of the story where the plot is established, characters are already introduced, we see the dynamic between the different characters, and we also see various plot points that will be relevant later in the movie, and also this is the part where it leads up the rise in action. Both Mitsuha and Taki realizes that their respective dreams of being in another one's body are actually real. From this point, this is perhaps the most important part of the story. This is the part where you're supposed to be 100% invested and care to what will happen to them as the plot goes on. This is the moment where Mitsuha and Taki learn from each other intimately and fall in love through living each other's lives, and the movie should have taken its time to show how things unfold. The thing is, the movie kinda skips over that in the form of a montage scene. Here is where I have my main issues with this movie. Yes, you see what's happening, but you don't really get anything out of it or experience what the characters are going through. Both main characters are switching bodies regularly. From what we see from the scenes, we get a sense of how they're affecting each other's lives and how they're getting fond of each other. But it feels on a very surface level. This is supposed to be the most important part of the story because it helps to consolidate the love between Mitsuha and Taki that will come later on. But it just glosses over it and you just assume that at some point of the sequence they began to fall in love, but we will never know how or where exactly that happened because before you knew it, the scene was over and they were already in love. Which leads me to talk about another issue I have with this film. What I'm about to say is taken from a Reddit user because they described perfectly what are the main problems. Your Name's central premise doesn't make for a very good romance. The film is predicated on the idea that two individuals switching up bodies allows them to live each other's lives, which forces them to know each other and fall in love through the red string of fate. If I don't know how those two interact as an actual couple, then I find it really hard to get invested in the relationship between them. Taki and Mitsuha interacted with each other directly 3 times. All of them were really short. What does a date between Taki and Mitsuha looks like? What does a conversation between them feels like. I have no idea how their personalities work together or if they are generally compatible, and that's just the fundamental basis of our relationship. Or that's what I've heard. It's very difficult to write a romance between two characters who don't know each other. They only know each other's lives, not each other's persons. When they meet right at the end, they're still basically strangers connected only through this vague notion of fate rather than anything genuinely tangible. This is further hurt by the fact that Taki and Mitsuha's characterization is weak. They're both pretty bland characters individually with little personality, especially Taki. Throughout the whole film, we only know Taki superficially. We don't know anything about his family circumstances. His dad only appears in one scene and never appears again. He seems to snap really easily, but that doesn't get addressed much, and also he just happens to be good at drawing, and we don't know anything about his motivations. He's, as I said before, a bland character with little in the way of endearing or interesting personality. This is often a problem with Shinkai's character writing, with the exception of other films like The Garden of Words or Weathering with You, whose characters are more fleshed out. But films like 5 centimeters per second are still powerful tone pieces and dig so strongly into their central ideas that they resonate anyway. And in that film, the characters represent particular ideas so perfectly that it works in context. Your Name is a blockbuster movie predicated on a relationship that I struggle to invest in between two characters who don't have the personality to get me invested in their individual stories either. Mitsuha wants to move to the city and she has some conflict with her father that gets brought up once and then is forced back into the plot for dramatic conclusion without a proper development. But her personality is so poorly defined that I can't see it as anything more than a surface level character motivation. Taki's even worse. All he has is his crush and his interest in drawing and architecture, but his personality is hollow. Their characterization is so thin that it makes it hard for me to imagine what interactions between the two could look like. Then you have the movie's pacing. The first half of the film was actually pretty fun, and despite the lacking character development, I found myself actually immersed in the vibe thanks to the snappy pacing and editing, great visuals and sound, and some genuinely fun jokes and ideas. But the climax of the film felt rushed, partly because this portion of the film failed to properly set up various important plot elements and character motivations, as I said before. In general, the drama gets solved rather quickly. I feel like the last 20 minutes of the movie should have been half the film. Hell, even the movie even skips over Mitsuha and her dad trying to get everyone out before the town gets destroyed and only shows the aftermath on a flashback where somehow everybody gets saved and they expect you to roll with it. And this feels hollow because we don't get a sequence of the outcome. Also, there are some subplots that doesn't come to any conclusion. Did Mitsuha and her dad come to an understanding? Did Teshi get grounded for illegally blowing up a substation? And there's also other plot holes in the movie, like not putting the year in the calendar when that's supposed to be a normal thing, or why Taki doesn't even remember such a catastrophic event like a town being obliterated years before the magic connection even happened. Because come on, how would someone forget something so catastrophic like a town being shred to pieces by a comet from outer space?
I keep having this nagging feeling that I've forgotten something.
Hey, if you forgot it, it probably wasn't all that important.
Yeah, I guess.
These questions and many more elements are left unanswered, and it bothers me. For a movie that it's proclaimed to be, by many, the greatest anime movie ever made, failed to provide a complete closure to its core events. But even after all the flaws I've mentioned about this movie, I still like Your Name. It's not my favorite Shinkai's film that goes to 5 centimeters per second, which I'll make a video about it someday, but Your Name is really good at conveying emotion through its animation and music, evoking a sense of nostalgia, the longing of finding that special someone through the vast ocean of people without relying on heavy dialogue or too much exposition. The film could have been a lot better with the characterization, pacing, character arcs, in other words, the overall writing. Even Makoto Shinkai himself stated that, and I quote, "For me, it's incomplete, unbalanced. The plot is fine, but the film is not at all perfect. 2 years was not enough." Well, that's the end of the video. Hope you guys enjoyed it. My god, this video took me longer than I expected. And that's because I got a new camera and I have to learn from scratch how to use it. From now on, you're gonna see my face more often on my videos, and that would allow me to make more quality and variety of content. That and making the editing process more easier. Anyways, I'd love to hear your honest opinions about this movie, positive or negative. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm kinda hesitating on doing this video because I know that a lot of people in the anime community loves your name. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed yet, I encourage you to do it because that would help me to make more content for you guys. Subscribe, turn on the notifications, and see you guys next time.